What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? I'm having another beautiful day in paradise, I must say. Living great, doing my thing. But I do want to get something out of the way right quick. I know I always call the Democrats insane, or they're just going insane, or they're in insane mode right now. And I do want to clarify, I don't necessarily mean that in the literal sense. But when I look at some of their arguments, when somebody comes up to you and says, how about you kill your children instead of finding a different solution? Or how about we sterilize your child instead of looking for the root cause of their mental issue? Or when they say that you're racist if you think your country shouldn't have a border, or when they want to fund and cheer for people going to war and dying instead of finding a peaceful solution, you might think they're kind of crazy for doing that. And that's why I say that. Their positions on everything are just simply insane. You can't believe. You really would rather kill a helpless little child growing in somebody's belly than to find a better solution? Would you rather give puberty blockers and surgery and sterilize your child instead of finding the actual mental illness that's going on with them? Would you really rather continue to funnel money to a war instead of trying to find a peaceful solution to stop fighting? That's why I believe the Democrats are insane. Like I said, I'm not really being hyperbolic, not necessarily being literal, but that's an insane position to have. And I don't understand how they can articulate that in any kind of logical way to make sense. They're in a position now that they can't really get out of without backtracking on all their positions. And today's story just goes into that a little bit more. All these stories kind of follow each other in a sense, and that's kind of how I pick them out. And I do that on purpose so we kind of stay on topic. But we are in crazy times, folks, right now, and we really need cooler heads to prevail, but it doesn't seem like we're going to get that anytime soon, because Biden says there's not much time to keep aid flowing to Ukraine, and Congress must stop the games. So essentially, your president is saying, yeah, let's continue the killing, let's continue the murder, instead of trying to find a peaceful solution to war. It's crazy, y'all. Just like I say all the time, it's insane. President Joe Biden said Sunday that American aid to Ukraine will keep flowing for now, as he sought to reassure allies of continued U.S. financial support for the war effort. But time is running out, the president said in a warning to Congress. We cannot, under any circumstances, allow American for Ukraine to be interrupted, Biden said in remarks from Roosevelt Room after Congress averted a government shutdown by passing a short-term funding package late Saturday that dropped assistance for Ukraine in the battle against Russia, which I called as for a good thing. Let's stop this blank check, essentially, that we have for Ukraine and find a peaceful solution. I don't want to abandon these people. Don't take my position out of context by saying I want to stop this money from going over there. No, because they're going to need help after the war. And, I'm all for that. Let's give these guys some assistance they need. But while they're continuing to fight, we need to find a solution to stop this, because war is insane. And I hate war, and I don't see how anybody that supports this war can justify it by just saying, yeah, go Ukraine, instead of trying to say, let's find a peaceful solution to this. What is wrong with people these days? We have time, not much time, and there's an overwhelming sense of urgency, he said, noting that the funding bill lasts only until mid-November. Biden urged Congress to negotiate an aid package as soon as possible. The vast majority of both parties, Democrats and Republicans, Senate and House, support helping Ukraine and the brutal aggression that is being thrust upon them by Russia, Biden said. Stop playing games, get this done. They're not playing games, and they're trying to get it done. If you can't see that, Biden, you are very out of touch, and you need to think about your priorities. Get your priorities in order, and think that, do you want to continue funding a war where people will continue to die, or do you want to try to find a solution to stop the fighting so people don't continue to die? Which one of those positions is insane to you? Let me know in the comments. But many lawmakers acknowledge that winning approval for Ukraine assistance in Congress is growing more difficult as the war grinds on. Republican resistance to the aid has been gaining momentum, and the next steps are ahead, given the resistance from the hard right flank. So it's now a hard right position to not fund a war. Yeah, they're trying to make it seem like wanting to stop the war is crazy. That's what I get from that. It's insane. While Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has begun a process to potentially consider legislation providing additional Ukraine aid, House Speaker McCarthy faces a more difficult task in keeping the commitment he made over the objections of nearly half of his GOP majority. He told CBS Face the Nation that he supported being able to make sure Ukraine has the weapons that they need, but that his priority was security at the U.S.-Mexico border. No, your priority should be to do what's right for America. Yes, shutting down the border is a good thing, but we have many more problems than that. We do need to find a peaceful solution to end this war. I firmly support the border first, he said. So we've got to find a way that we can all do this together. By omitting additional Ukraine aid from the measure to keep the government running, McCarthy closed the door on a Senate package that would have funneled another $6 billion to Ukraine, roughly one-third of what was requested by the White House. Both the House and Senate overwhelmingly approved the stopgap measure, with members of both parties abandoning the increased aid in favor of avoiding a costly government shutdown. Now Biden is working to reassure U.S. allies that more money will be there for Ukraine. Look at me, he said, while turning his face to the cameras at the White House. We're going to get it done. I can't believe those who voted for supporting Ukraine overwhelmingly majority in the House and Senate, Democrat and Republican, will, for pure political reasons, let more people die needlessly in Ukraine. And that's why I say the Democratic position right now is insanity. Giving more money to Ukraine to help fund and keep fighting a war, or stop the funding for Ukraine and stop the war. Which one of those is insane? He's talking about if we don't send money to them, people will needlessly die. What are you thinking, Joe Biden? Stop the fucking war. That's how you stop people from dying. You don't stop people from dying by sending them to the battlefield. I can't comprehend these people. Foreign allies, though, were concerned. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said Sunday from Kyiv that he believed it wouldn't be the last word, but he noted the EU's continued substantial financial support for Ukraine and a new proposal on the table. I have a hope that this will not be a definitive decision and Ukraine will continue having the support of the U.S., he said. The latest actions in Congress signal a gradual shift in the unwavering support that the United States has so far pledged Ukraine in its fight against Russia, and in its one of the clearest examples yet of the Republican Party's movement toward a more isolationist stance. The exclusion of the money for Ukraine came a little more than a week after lawmakers met in the capital with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He sought to assure them that his military was winning the war, but stressed that additional assistance would be crucial. I'm sorry, I have to stop right there. First off, wanting to stop some funding to continually fund a war is not an isolationist position. It's an anti-war position. Get your facts right. And secondly, there is by no measure that I can see, and I've looked at all the statistics, that Ukraine is winning the war. They have not gained any significant ground at all, pretty much since the start of the war. The Russians came in strong, they pushed them back a little bit, but since then those lines haven't changed much, and now we're upward of 500,000 casualties from both sides. That's estimates, by the way. Estimates, because neither Russia nor Ukraine will give out any kind of casualty numbers. For what reason? I don't know. Maybe morale reasons. Probably morality reasons, too. After that visit, Schumer said that one sentence summed up Zelensky's message in his meeting with the Senate. If we don't get the aid, we will lose the war, Schumer said. Does that sound like they're winning the war to you? If they don't get a little bit of aid from the United States, they're going to lose the war? At this point, what are we really doing over here? I've railed on that enough. Let's keep going. McCarthy, pressured by his right flank, has gone from saying no blank checks for Ukraine, with the focus being on accountability, to describing the Senate's approach as putting Ukraine in front of America, which that is exactly what we're doing. Whether that's our intent or not, that's exactly what we're doing. These people in Washington, D.C. have some kind of revenge for Russia and want to go after Russia. Yeah, sure, it's very bad to invade another country and do what Russia's doing. But it's also very bad to stand by and prop up Ukraine and let them take the brunt of Russia's aggression. Just doesn't make any sense to me. Why can't we go over there, put ourselves in front of Ukraine and tell Russia, look, stop. Stop what you're doing right now. This fighting is insane. We've got to quit it. Why can't we do that? Why haven't we even tried to do that, is what I don't get. And you know, a few months ago, when Elon Musk proposed a solution to the war, people attacked him, called him insane, called him a Putin propagandist. Yeah, how insane is that? The guy wants to stop people from dying, and people are calling him a propagandist, a Putin prop-up, if you will. I just made that up, I think. Hopefully, I made that up. Give me some kind of credit here, y'all. But, I mean, what are we doing here, you guys? I mean, really. I really want people from the other side, anybody who's for this war in Ukraine, to drop a comment down below. And you give me one good reason why we should continue fighting a war that is not really necessary. Why we should continue funding a war instead of trying to stop the fighting. Instead of trying to put an end to this. To keep people from dying. Please, give me some sort of insight into that. Something. The next funding deadline, which comes during the U.S.-hosted meeting in San Francisco of Asia-Pacific Economic Corporation leaders, is likely to become a debate over border funding in exchange for additional Ukraine aid. This was the scenario that Mitch McConnell, the Senate Republican leader who has championed Ukraine aid, was trying to avoid back in summer when he urged the White House team not to tangle the issue in the government shutdown debate, according to the people familiar with his previously undisclosed conversations with the administration, who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the private talks. Now all sides are blaming the other for the failure, straining to devise a path forward. Voting in the House this past week pointed to the potential trouble ahead. Nearly half of House Republicans voted to strip $300 million from a defense spending bill to train Ukrainian soldiers and purchase weapons. The money later was approved separately, but opponents of Ukraine support celebrated their growing numbers. The U.S. has approved 4 rounds of aid for Ukraine in response to Russia's invasion, totaling about $113 billion, with some of that money going toward replenishment of U.S. military equipment that was sent to the front lines. In August, Biden called on Congress to provide for an additional $24 billion. That is simply insane. The $113 billion is a conservative number from what I understand. When I was doing a little bit of research for this video, I saw some numbers of total assistance, everything like aid, tanks, everything we've sent is closer to $200 billion. So that $113 billion is a fudged number, and they're being specific about what they're talking about. But, you know, we have estimated 500,000 casualties, and just the United States, $200 billion. Does anybody think that this is a good idea? All of this could have been averted. It all could have been averted. We saw the Russian buildup coming. Nobody tried to stop it. Everybody said it wouldn't happen. How wrong were you guys? But I think I've railed on this long enough, y'all. But like I said, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Is it really an insane position to not want to send aid and try to stop a war? I don't think so. And I think you would have a very hard time convincing me otherwise. Because continually sending money to a war, to finance a war, for people to continue dying is the more insane take on what's really going on in Ukraine. But like I said, let me know in the comments. And that's all I got for this one, y'all. Thanks for watching. I genuinely appreciate everybody. It's not many of y'all, but hey, we're growing a little bit, so I gotta be positive about it. Do me a favor, like I said, leave a comment, hit that like button. That like button helps out a lot. And try to be positive. Peace.